the place to begin is talking about last year's tailgate. Give you guys some background. It pretty much started before the school year ended with regards to negotiations on tailgate policy for the coming year. All summer, we were phone conference calls, in-person meetings to set the new regulations that exist in the fall that were the significant changes were 30 cases of beer per registered group. And that's
pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the one that impacted most people.
To bring it back, so we've had successes. If you're wondering what they expect of us, we know that we've had success in pushing against the alcohol limit. I mean, that was a big win when they tried
to. Next year?
I'm sorry?
Are you talking about for this past year?
For this past year.
Okay.
Right. It was supposed to be over the summer. It was a 6-pack. It was the LDOC rule, 6-pack per person. You had to carry it with you the whole time, literally the whole time. It had to be on your person. And we pushed it back against that. And we just told them that wasn't feasible. And so I think that can be our role. I think that the administration is pretty firm in that they want to change it, whatever that means. Whether that means to make it a PG-13 or anything but the NC-17 that it is right now. In their minds.
The administration is not going to say, okay, go do tailgate again in its current form. Like, we either are going to work with administration to try and come up with something they agree with, or there's not going to be a tailgate.
And our professional read on this is we need to come up with a good solution on our end that keeps everything sacred that we want, but that can meet them at least some portion of the way. And so, I would love to keep it in the blue zone. I would love to keep doing what we do. It'd be really easy to just say, let's do it again, but we'll put in a different policy. But what we know is that is just not possible. It just can't happen.
We pitch, when we go to negotiations, of course, the biggest pro that tailgating has to offer is that it's 6 events in the fall that anyone can go to. It's a huge, it's like the library party was a huge event that anyone can go to. And we say it's open, any group can register, but in the model, the capital T model, there were huge barriers to entry. You had to have a big car to bring, or you had to have 3 cars, because in order to get in 30 cases, you could only drive in 9 at a time. You had to have speakers. You had to have the money to purchase 30 cases, and then you had to have a group to attend. Those are large barriers to entry, and you had to have the liquidity to get a generator. So we're talking about major capital investments that can only, let's be realistic, that are only attainable by large Greek organized.
But unless you get rid of the whole,
every tailgate costs every fraternity between $800 and $1,500.
I mean,
God bless a group that does that.
Right.
That's why we're paying dues.
Right. Within a year or two of implementing a house model, I definitely see individual houses being able to reserve spots and be groups in tailgate as well, and not just group.
Houses, absolutely. I think in any model there will always be group spots, and that's what tailgate is.
with music for each one.
That I don't know, but I can tell you the first part.
That is one of the.
Oh, I have no doubt that if attendance were as high as it is for basketball games, that there would be no problem with tailgate.
And so I feel like if there's a way to raise the football attendance, that might answer some of the questions that the administration has, because in its current form, they don't really see the point. They're like, students go to tailgate, they get drunk, they go home. They're not getting drunk and then going to the game. If there's any way to funnel that traffic back into the football program and have the attendance rise, I think that answers a huge majority of the administration's questions, because once again, they just don't see what tailgating is doing. It's, like you said before, it's just sort of a Saturday morning party, so why can't you do this at any time of the year? So if you can answer the question, can tailgating lead to football attendance? I think that will clear up a lot of issues.
I think that the location of it, since it's so far removed from the stadium, does promote kids to explore other options after tailgate. I think if you make football the most logical and accessible post-tailgate activity, I think improve attendance a lot. Because when you leave tailgate, it's directed in the direction of back to main quad and Wanamaker. Right. It's not directed towards that's just the way the lot exits.
Right, sure, it funnels you out.
Right, it funnels away from the stadium. So if you get something that funnels towards the stadium, everyone's next thought will be all right, let's go into the game.
Well, and
Anything in which the dorms are closer than the game, the dorms are going to be the logical explanation. Just by sheer teenage laziness, we need to make the game the closest possible thing. And I think that's the way that we meet halfway, and everyone wins that.
what's your?
So I really think that we can do that. I think that maybe the card lot, maybe the quad, maybe the green zone, maybe another part of the blue zone. Those should all be something we consider, and not just say it has to be the Guam lot, which is what that one lot in the blue zone is called. We know right now that the card lot is the favorite, absolutely the favorite. And whether or not it can be done requires some working out with football. But I think that it would be Coach Cutt's favorite, would be my guess. But that the biggest fault of what they propose and discuss as being the card lot is actually that it's more dangerous, not that it's not cool, that it's not fun for us, but that it actually, we can't control a lot of what goes on there, so we'd rather have more control in a different spot.
So the purpose is about football. What else is being considered other than location? Because I think everyone's unanimous behind the fact that they don't want the community and the unity to ever disappear, and that's great. And location is one way to kind of link it back to football. Is there anything else on the table to link tailgate to football, or the concept of tailgating?
Getting the Devil's Alley, that walk that the football team does to go through the area where students are. Certainly, it's really a shame right now that they walk straight from the chapel all the way down the main quad and into the stadium, and they never pass by a single undergraduate. So that I would say that's something. And then of course, metrics for ways to get people to attend the game, or maybe counting. Although that's not something that they've discussed. Certainly, it was the first thing that we noticed when we went to Wake Forest.
I think there's a really good way to make sure that people at least stay for half the game, and to keep the costumes, to almost do like a best costume contest at halftime. I think people might get really into making some really amazing costumes, and will at least stay for half the game.
Maybe. I'm a little skeptical.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's totally been straight.
But I feel like if you make food free, also, and put more of an emphasis on food, then it's not all about drinking. You're at least going to be eating while you're drinking.
So I think food is a great thing. Emphasize the food. I think the two most important things we've come up with, in my opinion, is the food, emphasizing the food, and emphasizing the change in location where we can funnel kids into the football scene. I think at this point,
Being able to read.
There has to be someone who's like committed to grilling for people that need food.
So requiring a grill master.
The monitors, yeah.
George Foreman, I'm sure he's.
Yeah, have George come over. We discussed it last season, sort of in the middle of the season, as we were trying to find ways to tweak the event. And Dean Sue, and I think Student Affairs is okay with us getting kegs. It was our call. We made a risk assessment. First of all, we did the math. Given the amount of beer that's currently brought into Tailgate, there aren't enough kegs in Durham to support the event.
Right, because one keg is about 7 cases.
And there were a lot of
Goes
cases.
straight to
Yeah,
the spot.
we
There's
just
a way of getting 100 kegs to Duke on a Saturday.
So that's the first. The first concern was as a mid-season change without a lot of coordination, it would be a big burden to put on groups to ask them to do that. The second thing is that every keg has to be registered, and so all of a sudden now ALE has looked aside when we have tailgate, and they really they know it exists, and they could have made their presence known, but they don't. But as soon as you register a keg, you have to put the address of where you're going. So unless everybody's lying, and then all these kegs show up, and ALE and the sheriff's department and the police are on campus that day. And if they say, where are all these unregistered kegs coming from, then we actually are inviting them in. They don't need any kind of warrant or anything like that to follow a keg. So they can just come in. So that was our risk assessment, was A, we think it'd be really difficult to get that many kegs, and B, do we really want to invite that much attention to this event when clearly there are some aspects which we'd rather keep to ourselves?
Yeah. What does the administration want to hear from you?
Where they want to hear from us?
Yeah.
What do they want from us? I think they want us to find, they would love for us to just be silent for them, them to plan it, but they know they're going to have to work with
how
us.
do they see themselves playing? Like, what is Mineta, Pisetsky, Dean Sue, like, what is their ideal tailgate? To incorporate the student body?
I mean, their ideal tailgate, I imagine, would be to card everybody and to have it be a 6-pack per person, and you are over 21, and anyone else can come, but it's a carded event.
when is it going to be like? When are they? Where's this all going to end? Like, is LDOC next? Are they like take away no more drinking on LDOC? Like, I don't know.
Right.
The end for the school, I feel like there's 3 points, like attendance at the football game, safety at tailgate, and rebuilding the image of Duke and making sure that tailgate doesn't hurt Duke's image.
What we're actually going to talk about. Nobody is getting rid of tailgate. If we were, then all of those points would be really relevant, and we'd be using them to make our case to President himself. But we're not getting rid of tailgate. We're just talking about a different form of the same model. So the reason we want to be here tonight is to find out, what do we hold sacred? What are those inviolable principles? We love that it's open, right? We love that it's that your alumni can come back and relate to the members of whatever group you're in. That independents and selective members can get together. That it's a great Saturday outdoor activity. Sorry.
Costumes.
We love costumes, maybe. I mean, there's so many of these things, and I think that if we can make a list of all those things, and then absolutely, we're not going to lose any of those. I think what we need to realize, though, is that Larry Mineta canceled Tailgate for a reason last year.
Yeah, we're at the very beginning of the process. It's gonna take the whole semester, realistically, to do it justice.
Yeah.
I mean, these are ongoing. We had one meeting so far, and we wanted to get to the students as soon as possible. I hoped we would fill the room.
What's your guys' takeaway from this meeting?
Sorry?
Just out of curiosity, what's your takeaway from this meeting? Like, if you had to go to the administration, not just like, pitch us as a student body, pitch our ideas.
That's a good question. I mean, I want to make sure that we're representing it the way you want it to be represented. My takeaway is that this group is strongly in favor of most of the elements of the current model. The group will concede that there needs to be serious access control to the event. Is that fair?
Sounds good when you say it like that.
And emphasize food, free food. Big.
And free food, excuse me. Yeah. Well, we're going to write all this down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I don't-
should have started off this conversation by saying that what I just did, the tailgate with a capital T is over. And you may have noticed that when we have been speaking about it, we haven't said tailgate, we've said tailgating, we've said tailgating experiences before football games.